Alright guys, welcome back to another video of the Python tutorial series. And I know I've not recorded a video in a lot of in quite what am I even saying? I know I've not recorded a video for a very long time now, but my excuse is that I didn't get a very good microphone, and I always thought that this mic was not good doing well. So yeah, that's why. But anyway, I need to continue the tutorial, so I'm going to do that today. And forget about the web camera. I know it's not all that clear, but I don't know why I even put it up there anyway. This feel like it adds a nice perspective to everything. So anyway, let's just get started. In today's video, we are going to be working with strings in Python. We'll look at the concatenation of strings, how to use the length function in Python, which we'll get used to very soon. Then we'll talk about indexing. Then we'll talk about using the indices to access particular items of a string, slicing with indices, and then checking of if a letter is present and all of that. Then we'll look at a certain question, which is at the end right here. Yeah. So what we are going to do is to basically go back to our script folder, and this time around I'm not going to be using Atom. I've already taught how to use Atom, so I'm not going to be using it. I'm just going to be using the CMD straightforward because it's easier to use, and I don't know, it's faster. I'm not going to do anything very serious. So just type in Python to your CMD and it will open up the Python prompt for you, and then you can basically type any Python code over here. Now, we already know that if you put something in quotation marks, that's a string. So this is a string. This is a string. We learned that from the previous video on data types. So this is a string. Python sees it as a string, and then that's what it basically takes it as. Now, these strings have you can operate on them differently based on certain things that you want to do with them. Let me take that again. Okay, let me just go straight into it. You can concatenate two strings together. So I could have one string like this, string 1. Then I'll put a plus here, and I'll have another string here as string 2. Now if I write this expression, it puts these two strings together as one string. So yeah, says that what string 1, string 2. Now you realize that it just put them together. It doesn't add any space or anything between the two strings. So if you want to write a sentence or anything that involves multiple strings and you want to put them together, you make sure that you add a space yourself. Something like putting the space here yourself, so that when you hit the enter key, the space will be reflected over here. I hope that makes sense to you. So yeah, you can concatenate two strings together. That's very easy to do. All right, after concatenating string, you can also find the number of elements in the string, as in the number of letters or characters in the string, using the length function in Python. So you have len as a function in Python, and in this function you pass in a certain string. So let's say hello, and then if you hit the enter key, it should print out it should retain the number of letters that you have over here. So 1 2 3 4 5. So there are 5 characters in here, and mind you, this particular one also assumes that space is a character. So if I put space over there and I hit enter, the 6 comes out over here because of this space over here. So yeah, you can also find the length of strings in Python. That's very easy to do. You might be wondering why this would be relevant. Right now you might not find any use for it, but when you start looking at examples, then it will make more sense to you. Yeah. All right. So after looking at the concatenation of strings and then the length of string, we want to introduce Python indexing. Now, what is indexing? Indexing is basically a way of accessing a particular element in a string. So let's say I want to access this E in this string. Now what happens is that Python gives each of the elements in the string a certain character, a certain value that will refer to that location. It uses numbers, so it's like it has numbered it, and it starts from 0. So H here is at index 0, E here is at index 1, and then L here is at index 2, L here is at index 3, 0, O here is at index 4, and then this is at index 5. Now you realize that the maximum index is always less than the length of, it's always 1 less than the length of the string that you are dealing with. And that makes sense because they started from 0. But when it comes to length, we are counting, so we start from 1. Yeah, that should make a really good sense over there. So how do you do the indexing? So I could have a variable as my string, and I'll store this string inside hello or let me start revenue 44 inside. That's nicer. So I have a string in which I've stored revenue 44 like this, and that's a variable. You know, if I type in my string, I'll get it back, right? Now if you want to do the indexing, you put square brackets at the end of the variable name, and then you pass in the index that you want to access. So let's say I want to access this value thing. I need to find the index of this, you know, this value thing over here. Now you start from T, 0, R is 1, E is 2, and then V is 3. So I want to access the elements at index 3 over here, hit the enter key, and then it brings me back V, also as a string. And that's an easy way to, you know, do string indexing. You could also have negative index. If you have something like -1 over here, it means that you are starting from the back. So -1 is 4, -2 is also 4, -3 is E, -4 is U, in that order. So you start from 0 from left to right, then you start from -1 from right to left of the string. That's very easy to understand. So -1 should bring me back 4. So it's just an easier way to do it. Let's say I want to access something at the end of the string. I wouldn't want to start counting the number of elements in the string. I could just use -1 to do it. That's very easy to understand. So now that we've learned indexing, the next thing to talk about is to talk about the next thing to consider is slicing of strings using indexing. So you have a string, my string, but then you want to take something maybe from the very first element to the third element. So what you do is that you say that you want to start from index 0 and end at index 4, but should not include index 4. That's what happens, and you use the colon over here to do it. So you write my string, then you write the square brackets, then you specify the range of indexes that you want to access, but then you know that the last one will not be included. So from 0, 1, 2, 3, that's what will be brought back. The fourth one will not be brought back. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So it brings back from the 0th index to the 3rd index of the string, and that's how you do slicing. If you could also decide to omit this initial point. If you omit the initial value, it assumes that the initial value is the beginning of the string, and if you omit the final value, it assumes that the final value is the end of the string. So what do you think? What do you think this will return? What I've written here right now? I'm not giving an initial value, I'm not giving the final value. 1 second to think about it. Time's up. So it will basically bring back a copy of the string over there, because you know it starts from the beginning and ends at the end. That's basically what's there. It doesn't make sense. So I could start from the 4th index and end at the end. I have something like this. So yeah, that's all that has to do with slicing of strings using indices. And also I'm trying to make my videos shorter, since they are too long and I'm talking about a lot of things that are not necessary. So yeah, I'm trying to make everything a bit easier, you know, and shorter. Now the next thing over here, you know, we've already done this. Using this to access a particular item, we've done that. Slicing within this, we've done that. Now checking if a letter is present in a string. What did I just do? Alright, checking if a letter is present in a string. So how do you check if a letter is present in a string? First of all, I'm going to exit here and I want to clear this. Yes. Now I want to type the Python again, so I start from the top. Alright, so my string again is equal to revenue 44, and now I want to check if the letter E is present in here. All you have to do is to make sure that you write an expression like this: E in my string. Now if I write something like this, it will return a boolean value, true or false. If E is indeed in my string, then it will return true. If E is not in my string, then it will return false. Notice that this E over here is also a string, so you must make sure that this is a string. So you are checking if this string is in this string. You hit the enter key and it returns true, a boolean value, saying that E is actually present in here. And you could have something like E not in my string. What do you think this will return? E not in my string. Alright, so the not operator here is basically negating it, and it should return false. So if it is in, it will return true, but then you not, it's something like that. So you want to check if E is not in your string, but E is actually in your string, so it will return false. And that should make sense to you. And yeah, that's about it. Usually you use this expressions that return the boolean values to use it to control the flow of your program. So if E is in your list, maybe you could want to do something like that, but we'll come to flow control later. But for now, just know that this is how you do indexing and everything about strings. There's concatenation, and you could also use string methods like string to upper, string to lower, and a lot of that. There's more about strings that you want to talk about, like my string dot upper, and it should return the uppercase version of this. My string dot lower should return all lowercase version of this, and all of that, capitalized and all of that. So you see, there is one thing that we call object-oriented programming, which is that this is a string. This string over here is an object, and everything that I do after the dot is actually like me calling a certain function on the string, and then something will be done to the string. But honestly, we'll come back to object-oriented programming. But I would really want you to look at this. We call them string methods. So just go to Google and search for them, string methods. Where's my browser? I'm sorry, string methods in Python, be specific, because these things are also in other programming languages. So yeah, I like the Python docs, so I'm just going to that place, and yeah, all of them are here. So there is capitalized, there is center, there is count, there is the code. A lot of things are here. Some of them taking arguments, some of them do not. You would understand them when we start talking about classes, you know, how they actually are. But yeah, you can use them to return certain versions, like to make certain changes to the string that you are considering. So guys, that's it for this particular video. Before we end off, let me look at this question. What do you think will happen if you use the min or max function on a string? Yeah. That I have no answer for you. You have to go and answer it yourself. So guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, I'm glad. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Wait, was I speaking very fast? Let me know in the comment section.